So it's time once again for Nasty Plants, and I'm joined by our resident experts, David Leyland and Richard Podmore from Japanese Knotweed Control. Hi, gents.
Hi, Paul.
Now, today we're going to talk about an invasive species which is actually quite close to my heart, and an effective, I like to think, decorative and pretty little thing called bamboo. So let's start with its history. Where's it from and how did it get here, guys?
Well, as all these plants originally brought over by the Victorians, when they go out to these far-flung distant places and find these exotic plants, one of the things they found in the Far East and Asia and in South America as well, bamboo. Looked really nice in its native environment, brought it back over here and propagated it, and then actively distributed it around the country. So yeah, the Victorians originally brought it over.
A lot to answer for, those Victorians, don't they?
Yeah.
They are the kings of invasive plants.
They like their botany.
So what on earth, if you can ignore the pun, is wrong with our friend the bamboo?
Well, I mean, there's different types of bamboo. I mean, there's over 1,400 varieties of bamboo that you can actually get in the UK and in the world. Some are absolutely beautiful, fantastic plants, and if they're contained and maintained, they're not really an issue. The issue that you have if you let it run wild in your garden or out in the amenity sector, then you do potentially create issues for yourself.
So you mentioned there's lots of different types. I know some pretty little bushes, the ones that little sit dormant for years suddenly spring up, and then the ones that sit there and spread out underground as well. It's a very clever chap. Which ones should we be looking for?
Well, the main issue is with the ones that have rhizomes. The rhizomes are like a root system that goes underneath the subsoil that stores all the nutrients. And these rhizomes are spread out from the actual main cane itself and can go to 20, 30, 40 feet away from the actual mother plant itself, and suddenly it will emerge from underneath the subsoil, trying to get daylight and start a new plant, a new infestation of bamboo coming through. So the ones with rhizomes are the main problematic plants that we have. But the other variety, which are clumping, the clumping ones again can cause problems, that the clumps can start to expand, particularly put them next to fence posts or fences or next to buildings. They've got enormous strength, they can actually push structures away from the actual plant itself. So again, even the clumping ones can cause problems.
I saw something in the paper once about the house that had got the bamboo in the cavity, and it was in the bedrooms and the bathrooms. It actually looked quite nice. So why is that? Why is it so bad then? What does it do when it gets in the brickwork or under foundations?
It's actually quite similar to Japanese knotweed in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously bamboo and knotweed, they're both members of the grass family. The way that they, as David said, the way that they actually grow and spread is very, very similar. In the same way as knotweed does, they will expand joints and cracks within brickwork or concrete and will usually, over a period of time, can force their way through. Because the rhizome, the root systems are so dense, they have a huge amount of energy to be able to do that. In the Second World War, the Japanese actually used it as a form of torture. So what they would do with the POWs is they would put them onto a bench, which was above bamboo, strap them to the bench. And because the bamboo grows so quickly as a grass, and it has a very sharp point on the end as the emerging growth of the bamboo, it would pierce into the skin. So that was the form of torture, one of the form of tortures that they used.
That is one step further than having it in your bathroom, your wall cavity or your lounge. So have you come across any seriously bad cases of it?
Lots, yes.
Right.
In lots of ways, it's actually more difficult to get rid of than Japanese knotweed. And I think that's probably because of the fact that the structure of the plant doesn't really allow you to use any form of chemical to treat it in an easy way. And because it spreads so rapidly, unless you're actually as David said, unless you actually contain where it's actually growing, it's almost impossible to keep on top of. We look at cases of bamboo, and generally the easiest and the best way, and actually the cheapest way, is to physically remove the whole plant, even if that means removing trees and shrubs to go with it, because there's no other way of actually getting rid of it in one go.
So it would come back, like knotweed, it would come back then?
Yes, even more vociferously, if that's the right word. The strength of the plant and the actual rhizome, the small pieces of rhizome, will stick around for a long time. So you think you've got on top of it, but something else will appear somewhere else in the garden. So if you are going to try and treat it on your own, then basically it's a case of being very diligent and making sure that you're actually getting the whole plant all of the time.
I was going to say, what can you do if you've got it in your garden and you're looking to move it or actually just get rid of it? It's not a home treatment, or is there a home treatment for it?
As a grass, there is no reason why you can't treat it yourself, but it is an exceptionally time-consuming process, and realistically, it could take years, even decades, to get rid of if you were to do it on your own.
Wow. Okay. So the message on that one is another. You can try it at home, but it may or may not work for you, and it might take a really long time as well. Of course, if that doesn't work for you, you can speak to the experts or find out more information at JapaneseKnotweedControl.com. Richard Podmore, David Leyland from Japanese Knotweed Control. Thank you, gents. Till next time.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.